Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with a blog to watch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Seiko Grand Seiko SBGX093, which has the black dial, and the SGBX091 has a white dial. I love this watch, and it's not a watch that years ago I thought I would be into because it's a 39mm wide, kind of dress watch with a quartz movement, yet I'm totally in love with this watch. It's not the only watch I love. I am polyamorous in my watch love, but this is one that I'm quite into. Now, why do I like this watch? This is sort of one of the more almost entry-level, not the entry-level, but more entry-level Grand Seiko watches because it has a quartz movement. And as you know, Grand Seiko watches also contain mechanical movements as well as Seiko spring drive movements, which is sort of a hybrid. Now this one's interesting because this is sort of their answer to the Milgauss. It has a highly anti-magnetic case. It says magnetic resistant there on the dial, which is kind of cool. And in the scheme of dress watches, it's a little bit more sort of, I guess you could say, sporty. And the way you can see that is slightly thicker lug structure, a lot of brushed surfaces as opposed to polished surfaces. Lume on the dial for the hour and minute hands, as well as for 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. And that sort of red touch on the dial there. Now, I would not normally wear a 39mm wide watch. For me, that's a little bit small, but given sort of the wide flanks here, it looks nice. And again, the sort of wide dial is also attractive. This has probably one of the world's, if not the world's, sort of best modern quartz movement. It's the 9F family, specifically the Seiko caliber 9F61. It just tells the time, and that's actually very nice because you have a beautifully elegant dial, no date or anything like that. And what's really impressive about the 9F family of movements, in addition to the fact that they're hand assembled and with care and love, just like any high-end mechanical movement, is that one, they're super accurate to within about 10 seconds per year, compared to about 10 to 15 seconds per month for a more standard quartz movement. If you look at the seconds hand there, you'll notice something. It not only falls very precisely on those second markers, but there's no wiggle to it. It is a very sort of secure, solid way of operating, and that's actually not easy to do. There's actually a small spring in there and like a little shock absorption system that Seiko designed in there that made it so that it could do that so nicely and solidly. And it's a pleasure to see it work so well. Also, compared to most quartz movements, the hands are heavier. They have what's called a high torque mechanism inside of the movement. And there's other cool features about the 9F family of movements that's worth knowing about. So if you were into quartz and you like high-end quartz, this is definitely the way to go. It is a Grand Seiko, so it's going to be a lot higher quality than your standard Seiko watches in terms of finishing and materials. So it's a steel case. The case is 10.7 millimeters thick. Nice 3-link bracelet there that's all brushed. Let's put this watch on. I just think this watch looks like $1 million on the wrist. There it is. You can see that the tallness of the case as well as the wide flanks make it so this is a very wearable 39mm in terms of looking modern sized. It of course is going to look best with long sleeves, but is just sort of a daily wear. I think it has a great look to it. And that matte black dial mixed with those mostly brushed surfaces on the dial just works so well. So the hands are brushed. The hour markers are mostly polished. There's this silver rehaut, as it's called, which is sort of a raised chapter ring. It just gives it a really cool look that I think is just fantastic. And again, the symmetry of the dial, in my opinion, works really well. In Japan, interestingly enough, the majority of the Grand Seiko watches are going to be quartz, whereas in other parts of the world, such as the United States and Europe, I believe that the majority of the Grand Seiko watches people are interested in are mechanical. And that's sort of an interesting cultural thing. In Japan, the concept of a highly precise quartz movement it's not only alive and very well, but also highly in demand by consumers. For me, the simplicity and elegance is something that really stands out a lot, because I have a lot of very positive things to say about Japanese watches, but oftentimes elegance is not something I would say, because they tend to focus on, I don't want to say cluttered designs, but very heavy designs that have a lot of things going on. And Grand Seiko especially, I mean, they're not alone. Some of the higher end Citizen watches that are currently still pretty much only sold in Japan has simplicity to them, but this is just sort of a very nice look that I think is attractive and works out well. And the fact that this is a dressy model with these sort of sporty elements, the sort of like anti-magnetic properties and things like that, it's pretty cool. Case is water resistant to 100 meters. Again, just a cool watch. I like it, and I don't really have any shortage of positive things to say about the bracelet. Even though it's brushed, has beveled edges on the side there, polished bevel edges would look nice. Nice Grand Seiko signed push button deployant clasps. Works well. Another interesting thing about this collection worth noting is that in addition to the quartz model, there's also mechanical models as well. They're a little bit bigger and they're a little bit thicker as well, and they have the date. But if this one is a little bit too small for you, or you feel like you want to go mechanical route, there's an almost identical looking watch, like I said, with a slightly bigger case and the date, that has a mechanical movement inside for those people that definitely want that similar type of magnetic resistance. But for me, the quartz one beats it, because I like the slight edge on the thinness, and the symmetry of the dial work well for me. There's no shortage of mechanical watches in my collection. There's definitely no shortage of mechanical Grand Seikos out there. For me, this one just sort of hits a sweet spot in a lot of areas. The retail price is 330,000 yen, which is about $3,000. But find one where you can. The price might vary a little bit, but that's a nice, relatively entry-level price for Grand Seiko, and I think this is pretty cool. Again, this is the Grand Seiko SBGX 093, and you can see the full review on a Blog to Watch. Thanks.